Jiaoqiu is stronger than you think, and today I'm going to show you how to build him best. Jiaoqiu is a fire 5-star nihility unit whose main gimmick is to prep and cook enemies for annihilation. Damage taken is a very rare stat in Honkai Star, which creates for him a unique spot in the game, one that is the most valued by ACHERON as he absolutely takes her to the next level, but other units can profit from his presence too. If we look at male Miko's base stats, we see dude comes out of the gate kinda slow with his speed of just 98, so make sure to reserve a pair of speed moccasins for him. Besides that, only his HP is noteworthy of being up there with Blade, so at least he can take a punch to the face and still have a plan. His normals are nothing to sing home about, just a single target spell that you only use if your team runs out of steam and skill points. Speaking of skill, this one allows him to keep his job as a chef. It deals some blast fire damage, which turns out to be a decent chunk at 150% multiplier on the main target and 90% on adjacent ones at level 10. But the kicker is that it applies stacks of ashen roast to the main guy you hit. But what the description mentions or not mentions is only half of the truth. In fact, you produce 2 stacks on the main and 1 on adjacent targets whenever you do the blast. 2. That's where the talent gets added to the dish. That one gives you a stack whenever Jiaoqiu uses his ultimate, skill or basics at 100% base chance. And you can have a 5 in total per enemy. And yeah, if you hit multiple targets, they all get some spicy dirt into the eye. And a stack. Every stack increases the damage enemies receive by 15% for a grand total of 35%, with each of them lasting for 2 turns, which makes it clear why spamming a skill is important. It helps to keep his stack count up and of course gets his ultimate back faster, which also happens to help with his stacks. That one makes just the stacking process smoother. You know, the ultimate goes and cooks your enemies alive, literally and figuratively. At first, it deploys a 3-turn field similar to Raw Mei that initially deals a chunk of fire damage to every enemy. You gotta heat the pot somehow, and the moment you use it, it will also set the stack count of all enemies to the highest number that is present on any enemy. So the best case you can have is one guy with 5 stacks spreading the gift to his friends. Misery seeks company. What is really interesting with Jiaoqiu and his chili con carne pot is that he keeps cooking even if he ain't in the kitchen. Completely remote, as long as he isn't dead meat at least. In other words, his ult applies stacks to enemies when they take action, no matter if it is his turn or not, even if they are stunned. So maxing out his stack count isn't hard. The base chance is lower though with only 60%, and his offline mechanics can only apply 6 times, and only once per enemy per turn. So in MOC it can easily spread up to 1 to 3 stacks per enemy, extra on top. This comes in handy when enemies die in the process, as they get a stack for coming uninvited because of his A6, and B, get more stacks for moving. But wait, that's not all. Another goodie is that his field additionally makes enemies take 15% ultimate damage. In terms of ACHERON, with her damage being heavily ultimate loaded, Jiaoqiu not only manages to make her hit harder than she ever did, he also makes her hit faster. He generates stacks for her incredibly fast. In a 3-cycle scenario where you often only see 3 ultimates for ACHERON with a signature, you know, can bust out a 4th ultimate. This is exactly because of his ultimate generating stacks, even when he is not on the field. This is unique to him, as for example Black Swan, who has a similar mechanic, can't do that. Every other nihility has to keep blasting skills, normals or bursts to stack ACHERON stacks. And what do you do when enemies just die? I'm looking at you, Silver Wolf. Yeah, but none of that stuff faces gender bent Miko. This makes him the #1 Acheron turbo stacker in Honkai Star Rail. The only exception is his A6. That one makes the ultimate also apply stacks when enemies enter the field. Here it's exactly the same like Black Swan. No stackeroonies. Still a good trace to have, especially in pure fiction where you just can't hit everybody with a blast skill. His A4 gives Jiaoqiu 60% attack for every 15% effect hit rate above 80%, for a grand total of 240%. This already gives you a soft bar to aim for at around 140% EHR. But more how much he actually needs in the stat section. The A1 gives 15 energy. This trace makes sure that Jiaoqiu on an ER rope gets to cook right at the start of the battle, which gets your Acheron going ASAP. The other minor traces add up to 13% fire damage, 5 speed and 28% effect hit rate. And you're really gonna need every little bit of EHR you can get. Jiaoqiu, being Nihility, needs to go with relics that focus on his personal damage, because honestly there is not much else for him. Since most of his damage is DOT, the best set will be for Peace Prisoner for the attack percent and the defense ignore on DOTs. It won't be perfect in something like Acheron comms cause it requires multiple DOTs for max effect, but it is still strong and it's doable. For Peace Genius for the regular reasons, aka the defense ignore, not much else to say. It's best in slot when Prisoner is out of stock for you. And then you got like the usual suspects with 2-piece combinations of 2-piece fire, 2-piece attack, 2-piece speed. For the planar ornaments, you can go 2-piece fleet, which gives quite some attack for the entire team, while not having insane stat requirements. It's a very universal good pick. Of course, there's also Broken Key, which is really good for Acheron, but the stat requirement of 30% effect risk makes it kinda difficult to use. And then there's 2-piece Pangalactic, gives EHR and attack based on EHR, which is pretty good. Would be a very good set for damage, but his passive trace already gives you quite a lot of attack. Then we have 2-piece Glamov for the attack percent and damage percent, and Space Healing Station for even more attack percent. Sure, decent options, but I would advise buffing your Acheron over his own personal damage. Now, as for the main sets, for the body you go EHR. The boots will be speed, sphere, fire percent, and the rope ERR or energy recharge. For the body, it's just you have to go EHR, no discussion. Boots has to be speed as he is slow by default, and fire percent sphere because he does decent damage due to his DOTs and he already gets a lot of attack. The rope needs to be ERR as that guarantees that he gets his burst out right away at the start of the battle. It's not worth to slow down your Acheron or any other damage dealer for his personal damage. Now, how much EHR does he actually need? If you want to hit your skill stacks guaranteed, you need at least 66% EHR, but the stacks from the ultimate would need a chunky 170%, which is unrealistic with his signature. Even 140% will be quite a tough ask as his second best Lightcone, the Resolution, just doesn't come with any. This makes an EHR body an absolute must, with or without his sig. And from here, just get any AHR that you can muster from the substats. Every 15% you can get gets you a huge attack bonus from his A4, up to 240%. So therefore, prioritize EHR over everything after you cleared his speed breakpoint of 134. Looking at Jiaoqiu's Lightcones, definitely his signature really baits with the 60% juicy EHR that it gives. You really want that, and it makes enemies take more damage after being hit by him. If the enemy has, it upgrades even the effect. Perfect for Jiaoqiu. It's a good LC because it gives him more of what he already does, and it's good with Acheron specifically because if you run Harvest Pella, you have now 2 units who really want Resolution, but that thing can only work on 1 unit at a time. Speaking of Resolution, it is essentially the same thing, just with a worst effect. But most people have an S5 resolution, or at least a lot, so just use this if you have it. While it can stack with Pella on resolution, it will still be good in any other team without a second resolution. Reforged Remembrance allows DOTs to ignore defense and grants attack percent when attacking enemies with DOTs, giving you EHR, best in slot damage, but mainly in DOT comps. But we all know nobody is going to do that. Now for his personal damage, you have the 4-star Eyes of Prey. Usually for most DOTs, Good Night Sleep Well is better for the damage, but since Jiaoqiu scales extra hard on EHR, and that Lightcone gives EHR, so best deal. Then we have S5 Good Night Sleep Well. If you can afford to run that thing, you will be rewarded with some insane damage percent, and that guy just plays in teams where enemies have a lot of debuffs on them, so making that thing virtually fully stacked every time. Then we have guys like Incessant Rain, that gives you damage taken debuffs, and overall is stronger than S5 resolution, while also giving you some EHR. But again, the problem is, who has that? Yeah. Patience is all you need, give speed, damage percent also applies Shock for Prisoner set in ACHERON teams. Speaking of teams, let's start with ACHERON. He is a second ability 5-star who actually focus on debuffing, replacing pretty much Silver Wolf, who is single target and just makes ACHERON less effective. But with Jiaoqiu, you have now the guide who can fill up the shoes perfectly and run alongside Pella. This will be your go-to team that you can run in pretty much all types of scenarios. You can alternatively run Black Swan over Pella, giving you worse defense threat, but you gain her personal damage. Jiaoqiu has dot, so he is able to help stack up Arcana, allowing Black Swan's damage to be actually viable compared to Pella. This team has speech issues, so Harmony. Yes, finally you can run those in ACHERON teams without any cap whatsoever. This guy just generates such an absurd amount of stacks. So many in fact that he alone can get you extra ultimates over a couple of cycles. This means the pressure to apply debuffs from your teammates will not be as high, making you able to use Harmony characters way more effectively. The main one being Sparkle for her ability to give ACHERON a lot of action at once, damage percent, and obviously humongous crit damage. Other good options would be Romei and Robin. Romei can make the difference whenever you face content that wants you to break enemies ASAP. Yes, ACHERON has some tools for that in her kit, but Mei can now make her life easier. One example being a combo with Mei, Gallagher and JQ. Eating toughness bars for breakfast allow me to comfortably zero cycle at E0 S1 levels without dropping the sustain. It's a niche team, I agree, but certainly worth keeping in mind, especially if other peeps like Gallagher join the fray in the future. If we look at DOT teams, especially Kafka Black Swan, JQ can somewhat replace Romei. He isn't best in slot, sure, but he frees up Romei for Firefly or whatever other team you need her for. The man also can be a general debuff for hyper carries, but Pella is just more SP friendly in that case than JQ, and usually Harmonies will be better anyway. I do want to mention Dr. Ratio though, as his best in slot team is not super consistent with enemy debuffs and thus won't always do his follow-up. Jiaoqiu in place of Topaz makes his follow-ups essentially guaranteed, but it still won't beat out the OG IPC. Now let's say you want to upgrade the guy, but you're not sure if you should go for his E1 or the S1. The E1 makes enemies take 40% more damage when affected by JQ's debuff. This is quite a lot. It also doubles the amount of stacks he applies at a time, making his stacking just a lot faster. Just the first effect being 40% damage taken is stronger than all the damage taken from his S1. So E1 is way better even if resolution is not an option. Overall it will give a 24% damage increase for his team. Now let's discuss the rest of his idolots. The E2 increases his DOT's MV by 300%. The multiplier at level 10 is 180%, so this almost triples the DOT damage. An 11% damage increase from his previous con. The E3 levels the skill and the basic, kinda bad, 0.3% increase. The E4 reduces the enemy attack by 15% when ult is up. It's, yeah, kinda whatever. The E5 levels ultimate and talent, increases both his DOT, MV and his debuff, a 2% increase. Now to the E6. When an enemy with the debuff dies, all the stacks that it possessed goes to that enemy with at least stack amount. And the total cap gets increased from 6 to 9. On top, enemies will get 3% of their resistance reduced for every single stack. A 27% reduction, which is insane. A 44% damage increase. So yeah, Jiaoqiu is pretty busted with Acheron. The man is certainly cooking with her, and he serves well into DOT teams, especially Kafka Swan. Outside of these cases, he's still a competent debuffer, but he won't be best in slot. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this guide. This has been Neo Star Impact, signing out.